Are you like us? Tired of all the politically correct horse shit on podcasts and in the media? Need a podcast that's funny, smart, and gassy? It's not politically correct. It's just correct. This is the Carolina Underground. Throw that middle finger in the air. Raise them up. Because it's time to get loud, proud, and in your face. Generation X. Generation X. The best generation of all time meets the grit of the South. It's about everything and nothing at all. From current events to woolly boogers to movies to politics. Loud, brash, funny, and never, and I do mean never, predictable. The Carolina Underground with Mark and Mike.
Yo, 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 yo. Welcome back to the Carolina Underground. We're coming to you live from the replica Bat Cave with my partner in high crimes and naughty misdemeanors, coming to you live from the deep, dark, haunted depths of Sparkleberry.
Well, good evening, sir. And of course, you know the old joke about sex is a misdemeanor, right?
And a misnomer. And then with my wife, you want it to be anonymous because you got to put a bag over her head.
Well, no, it's a misdemeanor because the more you misdemeanor you get.
I don't think that works in my case. I did find an interesting way to get my sister off of the phone when she calls, though.
Okay, do tell.
She called me today, and I was busy. And so I answered the phone, and we're talking, and I was like, Amy, I really got stuff I need to do. What's going on? She's on. I said, I'll tell you what, I'm glad you called. Can I discuss mine and my wife's sex life? Because there's some things that are bothering me. 15 seconds later, off the phone, and I'm back to doing what I needed to get done. Works every time.
There you go. It's sort of like the secret weapon for shutting up a teenager is, tell them, if you don't, or to get a teenager to do what you want them to do is say, look, we got one of two choices. Either you can do what I'm asking you to do, or I can go into great graphic detail about the sex I had with your mother last night.
And put it on Facebook.
Put it on Facebook. There you go.
Gotta love it. And I used to hold that over my niece's head till she realized that I was bluffing and wouldn't actually do it.
Well, there you go. There you go. But still, it should drive the point home that you're willing to break out the nuclear alternative.
That's right. I will go nuclear. It may hurt me, but it's going to hurt you worse. Let's just go that route. So what do you think's going on in the world? Anything that we need to talk about, or we just say that y'all go take it a day?
Well, I mean, there's always something to talk about. I mean, again, one of the things, and I just ran across this just the other day, okay, and so just a little bit of facts here for those who think that they can actually get their news from the news.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've started a new segment on the Carolina Underground. This is called Facts with Mark.
All right, so there are, here it is, 1,500 newspapers, okay, and this is in the United States.
I'm actually surprised that many are still in print.
Me too, but there are, okay, according to these numbers, 1,100 magazines. Now that I believe, because there's magazines all over the place. I've never seen reading one.
There's magazines that cater to everything, even like little micro mini war models. Because I got one in the mail the other day, and I was so excited because it was talking about a battle, and I was like, I haven't heard of this battle, and it's got all these very detailed things, and it looks real. And I open it up, and there are these little metal pewter soldiers that people have painted.
All righty. So 1,500 newspapers, 1,100 magazines, 9,000 radio stations, 1,500 TV stations, 2,400 publishers. And these are all owned by six corporations, run by 272 executives, and they control 90% or more of what everybody sees, hears, and reads.
Well, I can guarantee you this. Here on the Carolina Underground, we pride ourselves to poking people in the eye and pissing people off. So we are not run by 272 executives. I'm the only queen diva on this show.
Well, and I will attest to that fact. There's no doubt.
Well,
Hey, ain't nobody paying us for our opinion.
that's right. And we're willing to give them to you all day long and all
That's
night.
it.
We like Ric Flair. We 60-minute men, baby.
Well, there you go, man.
What was it he used to say? If you, what was it? Space Mountain, oldest ride, longest line.
Yep, that's the truth. That is absolutely true.
Well, I want to talk about something, a product, and I'm going to harp on this product because I have recently started using this at my parents' house because, my mom has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's and her memory is
Mhm.
definitely not what it used to be. It's not as bad as my grandfather's was when he was battling it, but she has a hard time with technology.
Well, some
And
folks do anyway, but go ahead.
well, particularly working, she gets confused if it's something more than turning the TV on and just pushing channel buttons.
Mhm.
And with in the modern world with cable boxes and streaming boxes
Oh, yeah.
and all of that, it gets kind of cumbersome, and there's a lot of stuff moving parts in there to get everything situated so they work copaesthetically together. But
Oh, yeah.
I have found a product that I have deployed at my parents' house. It's called Jubilee TV.
Jubilee TV. All right.
It is a hub, and in my parents' case, the only box they use is a cable box, so you only have to plug in Time Warner, but it you can plug in whatever Apple TV, Roku, whatever you're using.
Mm-hmm.
And it allows via an app, it simplifies the remotes. It puts it all in one remote where they hit power and can change channels up and down, all of
Mm-hmm.
that. It gives me the ability to log in and see what they see on the screen. So if they get mixed up, I can do it without having to actually ride down there all the time.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
And it also gives the ability, you can set reminders to take medicine, you can do video chats, and
Mm-hmm.
they don't have to do anything but sit there and know how to just push a power button. And
Mm-hmm.
it really is. This is a prime example of technology working for the betterment of a class of people like it's meant to be.
And I am absolutely 100% certain at this moment that Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos or somebody like that is going to snap that thing up and make it completely unusable within the
Oh,
next
I would
couple of
not
years.
doubt that one bit.
Yeah.
The company that does it now, they were known for making easy to use all in one remotes.
Nice.
And I think something about it was either the CEO or somebody in the CEO's family was diagnosed with dementia and Alzheimer's, and they were going through this,
Mm-hmm.
and he just totally reworked the concept of how they did stuff. Customer support, we had an issue today. I called them. Within 5 minutes, they had sent me an email, and within 10 minutes, they had followed up on said email that wanted to know if I needed a voice call.
Oh my heavens. So they're actually providing service. That's got to
They're
have to
actually
be stumped.
providing service,
They will have
and
to stomp that out in a New York second. That can't be allowed.
it is, and you can set it up yourself, or if you want them to walk you through setting it up, you can arrange for them to help you set it up.
Well, I'm gonna have to go find that sapsucker myself before it goes away, because that's, I mean, again, that's the yeah, that's everything that we run into today is immediately. Well, so I was sitting here thinking about it just the other day. Here's a rant for you. Soapbox number one. All right, so you know, with all of the streaming, okay, so Disney is upping their cost.
Yep,
Prime is up to their cost. And I mean,
yep.
again, Prime started out and you'd get 2 day shipping free, yada, yada, yada. And now all of that's gone.
Well, no,
But
you still get the 2-day shipping, but they press you to have the Amazon day and then give you like
right,
digital book credits and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. So you're basically shelling over more money for less actual value, and them pushing something that, I mean, and that's what, and it's what occurred to me is the other day I was trying to find I went from one system to another, and I was trying to find the place on the show that I was watching, and of course you got to have the advertisements. The advertisements are going
All
to be
right.
shoved down your throat,
And you can't fast forward
and
through
you
those either.
can't.
They
Yeah,
pick right up where you left off at.
exactly. So you can't fast forward. Now I'm paying for this service. Now a
Hmm.
lot of the people out there may not remember, but television and radio were free.
Right.
You had
Over the air, they were
only
free.
had to pick, you only had to have an antenna and a device to listen or watch.
And a
Okay.
cold Coca-Cola and a bucket of popcorn, baby.
And the advertising that those companies sold, those advertising spots paid for the content, and it was frankly better content.
Oh,
Then
I'll agree
cable
with that.
television came in, where we went from having, now again, I grew up with three channels. Well, four if you consider, if you include the PTL channel.
Well, now see, I'm of a newer generation, even newer version of Gen X.
All right.
We had 2, 8, and 12, which was NBC, ABC, and CBS.
Right.
But then we also had the UHF channels, which was 48 and 45, where all the good cartoons and the shows come on after school.
Well, yeah, and that did that, towards the end of my youth, that's, there were five or six channels. But then cable television became the vogue. And
Well,
you
the first thing
paid.
that became vogue, the funny thing was, is the first thing that became vogue was a remote control.
We'll get
Now,
to
when I
that.
was
We'll
growing
get
up
to
with my
that.
mom and dad, I was the remote control.
Exactly. And I was the remote control too. But again, with the advent of cable television, you were getting 300 channels that all had the
Well,
same junk on them, but
right.
you were
They
paying
were,
somebody for the privilege of them bringing advertising into your house. So they began
right.
double dipping. Okay.
Well, and you
Now,
were also getting the privilege of seeing it. So you missed the East Coast start time. You could start it
yeah,
in the Central
absolutely.
time zone or whatever.
Or in the Pacific time zone. So there were some benefits to that. But see, now all of those benefits are gone. So if I'm paying for a streaming service, I should be able to decide if, and one of the reasons this got under my skin so bad is I am just about to start throwing things and smashing television sets if I see one more ad for Kamalama Ding Dong Harris looking for my money. Okay.
Well, let me tell you about mine. Mine wasn't ads on TV. I've been getting text messages out of the
Oh,
yin
dear
yang.
Lord, yes.
And I'm not going to repeat what the reply that my canned reply is that I copy and paste to these people, but let's just say we are sorry. We will immediately remove you from the text list.
I mean, my
And let
goodness.
me tell you, it ain't very nice. I would have to crank up the General Lee and we'd burn 2 tanks of gas if I read that message up on the air tonight.
Well, I believe it. Now, I mean, again, here's the point. All right. Now, if there's anybody out there that is actually dumb enough to believe any of the rehabilitation efforts that they're going to install, if they can find a way to convince enough of the population that that they can get that woman installed as the president of the United States, that's what they're going to do. I
Well, I
will.
mean, hey, it's just going to boil down to how many whistles she can get blown before time for everybody to vote, because that's how she got every other job.
I know it, but that's beside. I mean, the whole point is they're trying to convince you that there's enough people out there that are sufficiently stupid and delusional to vote for this woman who has absolutely no track record of successfully doing anything that did not involve knee pads. So, she's an absolute joke, and it just amazes me. Now, I mean, again, So, I mean, it's just exactly what just happened in Venezuela with Maduro claiming
All
victory when
claiming
he's
victory.
so
Yeah.
obviously lost. Now, I don't know what the situation is down there because I managed to successfully avoid watching the news all day yesterday and all day today. But I am going through withdrawals now, so I'm going to have to find out in the morning.
Uh-oh.
But, I mean, again, this stuff, it is so far beyond absurdity what we are allowing the moneyed elitists to do to the entire world. There's a whole lot of us, and there's only a handful of them. We don't have to put up with this stuff. We really don't. We should really, but the thing is, in order to not put up with it, we have to stand together and agree
Well,
that it's wrong.
well, not only do we have to stand together, but there also has to be an alternative to fill the vacuum.
Well,
And I think that as fractionalized as society is, if that came to pass, it's kind of like the argument that I was watching. There was some show on this morning when I was down at my parents' house helping them with something, and they were talking about Joe Biden's announcements of what he wants to do to the Supreme Court, which totally undermines the whole thought process the founding fathers had of keeping this court sacrosanct from the whims of
mm,
elections.
no,
And
absolutely
it's kind of like you talk about this, how this will make democracy stronger, but A,
no.
we are not a democracy, we're a republic. And B, evidently you have never read the Federalist Papers or the Constitution,
Well,
because it totally is at odds with everything put forth in both of those.
Well, and that's absolutely true. But the fact of the matter is, I don't really think that we're even a representative, republic right now. Currently,
Well,
right now,
not we used to be, not
we
in
were
the I would say
yes,
we're not as in representation as of now, no.
right. The current representation, I really think that the idea of putting having them wear patches from all of the donors, so like the NASCAR drivers wear on their jumpsuits, is
Hmm.
what we should do, so we know who it is that we're actually who owns them, because it's not
Right, right.
us. It ain't us. They're
Oh,
not
definitely
working
not
for us.
us.
And I'm not talking just, again, you know me, I'm not talking about just the federal government. The federal government, the state government, it is corrupt all the way from top to bottom. Okay. And,
You think me and you should get on the same ticket and run next time?
I, you know, I don't, I really don't want to hold public office, which is why the people that we should be putting in public office are the people that don't want it. And the reason is you should be putting somebody in there that plans to do the job. And one of the, the first job that needs to be done is the government needs to be shrunk drastically.
I agree with that 100%.
And I mean, all of these satellite NGO organizations and everything like that, they got to be, it needs to be so difficult for those people to exert the influence that they exert that they just go out of business, because they don't do any good for anybody. They
Right.
really don't. And so, and the fact of the matter is, we need to have the understanding from every person in every level of government employ that they have a fiduciary responsibility for the betterment of the lives of the citizens that they represent. And if they do not, if they do not
Hmm.
adhere to that, and they do not provide that betterment, and I mean, it doesn't have to be, I'm not expecting a dog catcher to, to balance the national debt,
Right.
but
Right.
he doggone well better catch the dogs that need catching, and do it well to the best of his ability. Okay. And
In a
the
safe and humane manner.
in
You
a
can do whatever
safe
you
and
want to
humane
with
manner.
cats, but you treat the dogs extra special.
But you follow my point. It's like
Oh,
you're
I
there
do.
to do a job, and that job is not to make yourself fabulously wealthy. And then the other side of that coin is, I don't think that we should be paying high salaries to anybody in any of these
Public
organizations.
service.
No, none of them should be making a high salary. And if
None.
some of these
None
son of
of
a
them.
guns
It should
go
be
in there,
free.
yeah, well, they're not supposed to be paid, is exactly right. They're supposed
Well,
to
and
earn their
also
money
I find
beforehand.
something, Biden put forth, he wants an 18-year term limit on Supreme Court justices. And I find that really odd for coming from a man that's been in the Senate and the House for 50 freaking years.
Yeah, and I
So
agree.
if you want to put terms on Senate and House and then talk about putting them on the Supreme Court, I'll entertain that. But until the House and the Senate have term limits, don't talk to me about rewriting the Constitution again,
Absolutely.
because the last time we rewrote it, when we had uh, to make it to where senators are elected in elections, we lost control. The states lost control of the federal government because that was the last bulwark the
Hmm.
reins that the states could pull back on the federal government and stop it in its tracks from usurping more and more power.
Right. And again, if the states, if we in each state had been accurate or good stewards of our state, they wouldn't have stood for that, because they would have, the problem is we've got corruption in the states as well. And I mean, I know
Well,
you know
because
about it in
the
North
people
Carolina.
in the like the people in the states are waiting in the wings to try to take over the national seats.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's the whole thing. And again, we've got to regain control over our states. We got to regain control over our local municipalities.
Well, if we
And
gain control over the local and the states, the federal will fix itself.
oh no, the states, and yes, the federal will have to come to heel, because that's its job.
Because our job, and I even in before my lifetime, is to throw those bastards out
Yep.
because they ain't here for no good. They ain't here for nothing but lining their own pockets, like Bell Helicopter. Bell
Yeah.
Helicopter in the 60s went to the CIA about a helicopter designed for use in Indochina. Well, lo and behold, what happens next? We have the Vietnam War.
Right. Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, and again,
Now, I'm going to tell you this.
all
My
right.
little Flossie dog and I,
Mm-hmm.
just last night, we had a traumification.
Uh-oh. What happened?
Well, we was a snoozing, kind of like how dogs and people do. We got the air conditioner blowing on us and the fans blowing on us to make us feel like we're in a tropical Alaskan getaway,
All righty.
free from
I'm not
humidity
sure
and
that you
heat.
can use tropic and Alaska in the same sentence, but okay, go ahead.
Well, this is my story.
Okay, no, I'm sorry. Pardon me. Let me remove my assessment of the facts there, but go ahead.
That's right. I will not be fact checked. Thank you very much. But we're laying there, and I felt something. I was kind of in and out of sleep, and I felt something. You know how you can feel something if it lands on your covers if you're just using like a sheet.
Yeah.
And I felt something, and I didn't know what it was, and it's dark, so I just flicked my hand in the sheet, and I know something was there. I thought it was something Flossie had put up on the bed,
Hmm.
and I could hear it. I knew it flew off because I could hear it click against the bookshelf, which is I've got a bookshelf that's at the foot of the bed,
All right.
kind of a little bit of distance, and it clicked. Well, Flossie decided she wanted to get up. And so this is at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I look
Hmm.
around and I don't see anything. So I'm just assuming it's one of her toys or something or food or something.
Hmm.
And so she gets up, and last night she didn't want to sleep. She wanted to sleep in the den.
All
So
right.
we get up and we're sitting in the den. It's 2:30 in the morning. And I swear to God, coming from behind us, this fucking pterodactyl come flying from the den into the kitchen and flew around the lights in the kitchen. It was so big it just about killed and toted me and Flossie away both at the same time.
What in the world
It
was it?
was massive. It was a pterodactyl.
Okay. Now, are you
Well, that's
sticking
what
with
it looked
that?
like. That's what it looked like at first. I saw that, and this thing's massive.
All
And
right.
I was like, "What is this?" And it's flying around them lights, and I'm like, and I'm thinking, "Is that a bat?" I mean, because this is big. I mean, this
Hmm.
is good size.
Right.
Well, I get over there, and it finally lands. It swoops down and lands on the rug.
All right.
And I was like, well, whatever it is, it must be ready to meet Jesus because it's done gone into the praying and killing position.
Right.
So I go over there, and I shit you not, there is a beetle, and I bet that rascal is every bit of 5 to 6 inches long.
What in
A
the world?
beetle.
A beetle.
Well, he's dead now.
Well, so was it John, Ringo, Paul?
I think
Or
it was a combination of all of them.
all right, just checking. Well, okay. Well, do you know what
But we
kind
were
of beetle?
traumatized about that. It was a big one,
A big one. All right,
a big black one.
big black one.
And when you stomp it, its guts shot out and they were white.
Yeah, well, that tends to happen. Well,
I'll guarantee you he ain't flying around the house no dabbling more.
well, I'm sure of that, and I'm sorry for your trauma.
I
So
couldn't go back to sleep. I was
well,
afraid we were going
imagine
to get
not.
carried off.
I imagine not.
And I found another traumatization. You got a soapbox. Let me get on my
I
soapbox. My soapbox is more closer down to earth for regular folks.
okay.
I am sick and tired of getting on Walmart Plus to get my dad blame groceries delivered, and they
Hmm.
ain't got no dad blame Sunkist zeros.
Oh, okay.
And it never fails. They never have them, and I am tired of it. It's a conspiracy, and somebody is hoarding them, just like they did toilet paper in the COVID.
Well, they may just they periodically just decide to stop making stuff. Now, I mean, I was looking at this the other day. You remember BGO ointment?
Yes,
They don't make it anymore.
I thought they did.
Nope, it has. No, I think they stopped making it in, I want to say 1972.
Oh
So
well, that I still got some in the counter. It's still good then.
yeah, no, I mean that stuff lasts forever. But I mean, again, that stuff it was absolute cure all for just about anything on your skin. You could use it on
Wasn't that
acne.
like
You could use it on a
Beeman's? It was made
Beeman's.
by Beeman's, wasn't
Yep,
it?
it was Beeman's General Ointment or something like
And it
that.
was like a salve.
Yeah, well, it's white salve. And
Yeah.
so, and it is made with zinc and uh, calamine and camphor and phenol and all kinds of stuff. But at any rate, that stuff, I mean, you could use it, like I said, if you had a cut, you could put it on that cut
Hmm.
and it would heal up in no
Oh yeah.
time without a scar. If you had acne, you could use it on acne. You could use it, and what the reason was. I have severe problems with poison ivy, and you could use it on
Uh
poison
huh.
ivy. And it was one of the best things in the world to get rid of poison ivy.
Well, now wait a minute. I got something that is guaranteed to work on poison ivy.
What's that?
You want to hear it?
Sure,
All right. Make sure your earbuds is in real tight and listen closely.
I'm listening.
This is the surefire way to get rid of poison ivy.
All right.
Don't get in the shit to start with.
Well, I understand that, and that is always a goal of mine. But at any rate, in this particular case, I was unfortunate enough to be caught unawares.
Gotcha.
And
Well,
but at any
that
rate,
stuff was made by bee stuff. I wonder if that Burt's Bees ointment is similar.
no, there's it actually wasn't. They had one that they used, and it wasn't the same thing. It wasn't BGO, but they did use beeswax in a different poultice or tincture or whatever you want to call it that they
Uh
put
huh.
out. But at any rate, so
Well,
they made this stuff.
I guarantee you those are two words the younger generations don't know nothing about.
Well, I'm sure, yeah, or poultices and whatnot. But yeah,
And
so
tinctures, yeah.
yeah, but well, I mean that was before big pharma became such a major concern that
Well,
you
that was when they tried to actually cure something instead of
right
paying to
to
treat it.
yes to continue to abate the symptoms and maintain the disease for the remainder of your life. But again, it was manufactured in Florida up until now I think it was 72 is when it was purchased by a company in Greenville, and I think they continued to manufacture it until sometime around 79, and
Well,
then it just fell out.
I just looked at the trademark for it, BGO.
Hmm.
The trademark expired on November the 2nd, 1988.
Yeah. So there you have it. So I don't know if, I mean, again, I was looking at it and I found several of the things that stated what the
Why don't we
core
make our
ingredients
own?
were. Well, because you can tell what the ingredients are, but they don't give you the percentages or anything like that. And
Hey,
I
the
don't know if
easiest
you
way
can
to
or not.
do We can make it, and we'll mix it with Vaseline because everything goes better with petroleum jelly.
Well, I don't know about that. There's a lot of things that I particularly wouldn't necessarily want to mix with petroleum jellies. Most of them are food based, but petroleum jelly is the worst tasting kind of jelly.
But if you got problems, it'll make you skinny. It's the best weight loss diet out there.
You have got to be kidding me.
Well, yeah, you won't want to eat nothing.
I'm telling you. All right, that's okay. I got you. I was just really afraid you were going to pull something out that I had not heard of and I didn't want to hear.
Well, now there is a subject to happen. I'm subject to come up with some off the wall stuff every now and again.
There is truth to that, my friend. Indeed.
Well,
Indeed.
I live in the great Appalachian or the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains,
Mhm.
and there is and well, you kind of are too, where you're at. You're kind of in the foothills too, just on the southern side. But there are great tradition and tapestry, vivid tapestry of folklore
Mhm.
surrounding everything about how you do stuff, like why you put a mirror on the front porch or paint the ceiling
Yeah.
blue, and
Why
stuff
you
like
hang
that.
bottles on trees and stuff like
Right.
that. Yeah.
And a lot of times, a lot of the tinctures and poultices and stuff were handed down through generations, and they were handed down because they really worked.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so it's just kind of, we originally started this podcast to talk about a little bit of everything in woolly boogers, and we kind of got away from woolly boogers because the scariest things in our lives nowadays seem to reside in Washington, D.C.
Right.
The things that come from the southern swamp of Washington. The
Yeah.
creatures that rise out of there with their 10 heads and their 3 faces and all this other stuff tend to be the scariest rascals on the face of the planet.
Well, yeah, they have ceased being afraid of the people that they attempt to govern. And again, that's been the moment, the moment that my blood ran cold. I mean, again, I served in the military. I was, there were definitely egregious and terrible things that the United States has done in its past,
Hmm.
but I had enough faith in the United States and the American way that I signed on the dotted line and gave years of my life to her defense, to be a bullet sponge so that other people could live free. Okay, or what
Right.
I presumed to
Well,
be
now wait a
free.
minute. Now
And
wait a minute.
when my blood
Let's be
ran cold,
wait a minute. Let's be
what?
realistic.
What?
It's kind of hard to be a bullet sponge. Now, I'm not discounting your service, and I thank you for it every day because you're a lot better man than I am. But it's kind of hard to be a bullet sponge. You would be more like a depth charge sponge or something like that.
Well, yeah, no doubt. I mean, I did choose to go into the Navy, but there's that's another story. But again, your
You
primary,
were in the silent service.
yes, I was. And the thing with that is that your enemy is the ocean at all times,
Hmm.
because you're trying to keep that outside of the people tank, and anybody, including the ocean, everybody is trying to let the ocean inside of the people tank. But I won't
Right.
go down that road. But at any rate, when my blood ran cold and I realized that we had lost the United States, was when Nancy Pelosi said on the Senate floor, "You can't see what's in the bill. You have to vote for it before we'll let you see what's in it." At
Oh,
that
most
point,
definitely.
at that point, I realized we were done. Now we did have one brief respite when they were not prepared for Trump to win the first time. And again, to anybody out there, the whole thing is this: you've got a 4-year period where the prosperity and the engine of commerce in the United States was grinding so hard that they had to turn off the entire world in order to shut down the prosperity that was created during the Trump administration. when we actually had a president who actually did the job he was elected to do. And then you've had 4 years of
did
Biden
what he actually promised, or
promised
he
to do.
actually
Exactly.
promised to do. Yeah.
Exactly. Now you've had 4 years of business as usual in Washington, D.C. Okay. So now, no matter how severe your Trump derangement syndrome may be, you have to just open your eyes and believe what you saw for the 4 years that he was in there before they managed to dupe him into turning off the world because of a head cold. Okay. And what the difference is when they're in control. When they're in control and business as usual is going on in Washington,
Mm-hmm.
your life sucks. Okay. My life sucks.
Preach on,
Everybody's
brother.
life sucks.
Preach,
So,
brother.
number one, if you meet somebody that's dumb enough to vote against Trump because they don't like him, okay, or to vote for the Democrats because they think business as usual is going to be better for them, slap some sense into them.
Well,
I
now
mean,
I don't
just,
condone the use of violence.
well, I try to get some sense into them and refrain from slapping them. But I mean, we just can't allow this. And then when they come up, just like they did, like Maduro did in Venezuela, and they say, oh, well, more people voted than there are people living in the entire United States to keep things just the way they are. You doggone well better everybody be willing to stand beside your conspiracy theory friends and put your foot down, because this has gone way past far enough, and all of these people need to be held accountable. And it's time we reined in the local, state, and federal governments and got them to doing their jobs again and making our lives work better. End of statement.
And that concludes soapbox number 2, ladies and
No, I
gentlemen.
think that was maybe soapbox 2 through 10.
I think we're continuing on. This is soapbox 10A or 10B for you that are keeping score on your scorecards today. I think that's what we're going to do.
We
We're going to have a running
soapbox
scorecard.
bingo.
We could do that. Every time
Soapbox
you open your
bingo.
mouth, it's going to be a soapbox.
We'll do soapbox bingo. It'll be great.
Lord have mercy. You say you're a deeper thinker than I am, because I'm more worried about running out of sun-kissed than you're worried about
Well,
government corruption.
well, no. I mean, again, if it wasn't for corruption, you'd have all your sun kissed. I mean, just think back to when we had the great toilet paper shortage. You think they weren't making toilet paper? No, it was being
Well, you
hoarded.
know what the funny thing is I had to do something outside the other day, and I popped the trunk of the car, and
Mm-hmm.
evidently I haven't been in the trunk since the COVID era. It's still full of toilet paper. So I still have a supply of toilet paper in the trunk of the car.
Well, there you have it. But again, one of the things to roll back a couple of soapboxes ago, one of the things that we were talking about, you made the comment that there needed to be something to fill the void.
Right.
And now this is one of those things
I
where,
mean, it's like we always say, it's great to outline the problem, but if you're not bringing a solution to the problem, there's no point in even outlining the problem.
well, so let me just drop this little nutshell on or bombshell on you here. So again, this is one of
Uh-oh.
those things where when you run across something 2 or 3 times in the same
Uh-huh.
week, for me it always makes me think, okay, what is it that I call
What
it
is it they're
God.
not wanting you to pay
No,
attention to?
what is it that God wants me to see? And you can call it
Right.
the universe or whatever you want to call it. I call it God. And this happened. So I saw two things about this during the week, and then doggone if it wasn't the preacher didn't preach on in the sermon. Now,
Hmm.
as human beings, you got to remember, for thousands upon thousands of years, okay, we lived our lives. Most of our life was spent not doing a whole lot. Okay, we had short periods of high activity.
Mm-hmm.
And then most of the time, I mean, for example, if you were out there and the bull, out there in the pasture, and all of a sudden the bull decided that he wasn't having you out there and you had to run for your life to get over the fence, or maybe you ran into a grizzly bear or a mountain lion or something like that. But most of the time was spent, we're going to town. Okay, well, that's a 5 mile walk. So that's going to take all the morning. All right. And then it's going
Right.
to be a 5 mile walk back with whatever you got in town. So that's going to be most of the afternoon. So again, now, and all of this time, during all this time, you're going to be in silence unless you've got somebody with you that is talking
Right.
to you or something like that.
Silent contemplation.
And so the whole thing being that we don't have that anymore. And actually it was the second one that was taking an analytical view of it, is that
Mm-hmm.
it's quite obvious if you look at the levels of ADHD and mental illness and
Mm-hmm.
stress related illnesses that we have today, that we evolved to have those long periods of not much going on where our brain could sort out all of the stuff that had come in, all of the input that had come in, and make
Mm-hmm.
sense out of it. And we don't
Makes sense.
have that because every
I
time,
do.
well, I do too, because every time you sit down, somebody's got that dadgum phone in their face, playing a game or doing whatever. Now, I mean, again, I'm not against playing games. I'm not against watching videos. I'm not against listening to podcasts, none of that. But we are inundated by this. And we never really have that much time to decompress. And that's 90% of what's wrong with our society. And if you're trying to decompress, somebody's going to be piping a commercial into the middle of it.
Well, that or somebody's going to be trying to project their idea of the way you're supposed to decompress and act on you and not allow you to do it your way.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
they have forgotten the explicit right, and I think the right that trumps all of them is the right to be left alone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, again, how many times have I said it? The war is between those of us who just want to be left alone to live our lives and the people who refuse under any circumstances to allow that to happen.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question.
Ask me a question.
Oh, Kamala,
Oh, Lord.
whatever her name is.
Lama Lama Ding Dong.
Who's she going to pick for her vice president?
I could not possibly find it within myself to care any less. Because
I
I'm
think she's
already
going to pick butt plug.
Buttigieg.
Oh, Buttigieg. Yeah. I'm sorry. What did I call him?
I won't go into that, my friend. Just listen to the recording, you'll know.
Same
No,
difference.
yeah, no, well, yeah, they're all, all of the Muslims got their knickers knotted when she was thinking about about that Jewish governor. So I don't know that that's going to be
Shapiro.
allowed to. Yeah, Shapiro. I don't know that that's going to be allowed. And he's kind of a wing nut anyway. I listened to a couple
Well,
of
I mean,
things that he
but
said.
here's the funny thing is she's an idiot. They're all idiots. Trump
She, go
ain't
ahead.
too tightly wrapped himself, and this J.D. Vance, he seems to be a bigger idiot than just about all of them.
Well, I think that Kamala Harris would have to improve drastically to make it up to the level of idiot. And you realize that idiot is one of the levels on the scale of IQ. Okay, where you go, to from zero to genius. I think idiot is somewhere around the 80 to 85, something like that range. I'd have to
Oh
look
well,
it up.
she ain't that high.
She is nowhere near that. I think
Hey,
she's in the low teens.
it don't take a high IQ to blow a whistle.
No, not at all. Not at all. But anyhow, she, I don't know. Everybody ain't, there was only one perfect human that ever walked the face of the earth, and he was crucified for his troubles. So everybody else, we've all got our oddities and stupidities about us, but I don't know. I don't really find J.D. Vance to be that much of an idiot. I'm not sure what your point is about him
Well,
being an
I
idiot.
don't know if it's that he's an idiot or that he tries too much to be a mini Donald Trump.
Well, okay. I'm still not following, but
Well,
go ahead.
it's just some of the things, because it's like he spent half of his time in the last covering up years denigrating Trump, talking about how bad he was, talking about how evil he was, and all of this. And now it seems like he does a flip flop to
Well,
get in butt kissing mode so he can be VP and then position himself for a run
but
in
they all do that.
2028.
But they all do
Yeah, but
that.
I know, but they shouldn't.
Oh, I
That's
know.
one thing that
I
gets on my
agree.
nerves.
But this is my whole point. Now, wouldn't you much rather have somebody come up and say, hey, you know what? This is what I believe. Okay. So, for example, if I were running for public office anywhere and
And we
somebody
might
asked me the
start it on
question,
the redneck agenda.
well, there you go. If I were running for public office anywhere and they came up to me and they asked me what I thought abortion was, I would tell them flat out, I am a parent and I'm a Christian. And I
Hmm.
believe that abortion is murder. And I believe that a woman's choice ends when she chooses to lift up her skirt. Okay.
Okay.
That's when your choice ends. Okay.
Now you
That's
don't.
what I
Wait, wait a minute. Wait
believe.
a minute. Wait a minute. I get that. You don't see special instances for rape and incest.
Oh, no, that's rape and incest are a different story.
Okay. Okay.
Rape and incest are completely different. And I firmly believe that the absolute biblical solutions for rape and incest are the correct ones. Okay. Or rather
What,
that,
stoning?
yeah, absolutely. Well, murder or not murder. Well, wipe them out, kill them, death penalty. They should be gone. Okay. Now, I mean, again, nobody's perfect. No system is perfect because there's always, cases where, you know, uh, people, people lie. All right. And so you have
Hmm.
to be very serious and very sure of your facts before anybody gets the death penalty, but life in
Right.
prison at the
Right.
very least. Okay. If you
Of course,
cannot,
but if Kamala Harris was your prosecutor, you can do your sentences and you ain't gonna get out of jail, or she's gonna keep the evidence that's
right.
gonna exonerate you away from your defense attorneys.
Exactly back to my point of why we need to clean out our state and local governments so that they will reset the federal
Right.
government back to what it is supposed to be. And it's high time we do that because we've got more control.
Well,
But the problem
and
is
my
people
thing,
don't go out. Go ahead.
I agree with Neil Gorsuch. They asked him about Joe Biden and the constitutional amendments and stuff he's projecting, and his exact words were, "Be careful what you do because it will come back and bite you."
Oh, no, absolutely. But my thing, what I was going to say is the problem we have is people don't get excited about, people don't go out and look at, they don't vote in the primaries for state and local elections. They, the folks that run the government in your state and local government don't want you to be involved because they're the ones that are pulling the strings. It's like porkies. Okay. They
Right.
control the police. They control everything else. And you
It's
got to
like the
get off
Wizard
your
of
butt.
Oz. Pay
Yep.
no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Absolutely.
All
And
right,
yeah.
we've run out of time this week.
Uh-oh.
You've soapboxed us enough.
All right. Sorry about that, boss.
Shame it's not hot boxing.
That's true.
I mean, there is one other thing I want to mention before we
Okay.
say goodbye this evening, and that was Benjamin Netanyahu's comment this weekend that Israel is now at war with Iran. So that's going to make things interesting for a lively conversation next time on the Carolina Underground.
Absolutely.
And with that, that's the snout to the curly tail and everything in between. And hey, boys and girls, Kamala just wants to blow some whistles. So just do your zippers down and just let her have easy access. That's all she wants.
Lord
And with
help.
that, we go.
Y'all have a good night.
All right, you crazy bunch of motherfuckers. Wait, can we say mother? You've been listening to the Carolina Underground. It isn't politically correct, it's just correct. Our motto is, if you can't go balls deep, don't go at all. Actually, that's not our motto, and I'm sorry. I don't even know what that meant. All right, we gotta go. We hope you enjoyed the show. And if you didn't, we hope it really pissed you off. Follow us on Twitter at Carolina UNDGRND. Underground, get it? Or drop us an email at Carolina UNDGRND. Get it? At northstate.net. We want to hear from you. Y'all be cool. See you next time on Carolina Underground.